On the day of my 17th birthday, things took an unexpected turn. That morning, my parents excitedly told me they had planned a family vacation to the Poconos to celebrate my birthday. As the often overlooked younger sibling, I was thrilled by this surprise. However, the joy was short-lived. After packing eagerly, I descended with my luggage, only to find that my family had already left without me. My older sister, Ellie, who is 22 and often favored by her parents, was the one to break the news. She gleefully informed me that the family trip was still on, but I wasn't part of it. Instead, she handed me a list of chores to do while they were away, explaining that she and our parents had decided it would be best for me to stay behind and study for the upcoming finals. Ellie, having already completed her preparations for exams, was free to enjoy the trip. She suggested that I should be grateful for the opportunity to focus on my studies instead of wasting time on vacation. The sting of exclusion was made worse by the fact that Ellie had orchestrated this change of plans and delivered the message herself, claiming it was her birthday gift to me. Our parents, she said, had agreed with her reasoning about my needing to study and couldn't bear to tell me themselves. Feeling betrayed and sidelined, I struggled to hold back tears as I watched Ellie close the door behind her. Once alone, the full weight of the situation hit me, and I cried, feeling more isolated than ever. In a moment of defiance, I decided to reveal the truth behind my absence to all of their work friends by inviting them to a fake party. As I shared my story with the guests, it was a small but significant reclaiming of my voice in a situation where I felt utterly voiceless. On my birthday, an event that should have been filled with joy, I found myself bewildered and hurt by the actions of my family. My sister Ellie and I have had our disagreements, and it's no secret that my parents usually take her side. However, what they did this time was beyond anything I could have imagined. That morning, my parents had excitedly told me about a surprise trip they planned, which initially thrilled me. So much so that I messaged my friends to cancel our plans for that evening. My friends were just as surprised as I was that my parents had organized something so special. Unfortunately, I soon realized some surprises are too good to be true. After the initial shock and tears, anger set in. I needed to channel this anger somehow, so I hatched a plan that I knew would certainly make a statement. Finding myself alone at home, I sneaked into my dad's office. His MacBook and phone weren't password protected, which made my next steps easy. I began calling his contacts, inviting them to a supposed party for my parents' anniversary that evening. I framed it as a last-minute gathering and, playing the card of the innocent child, most agreed to come. I didn't stop there. I sent a message to Ellie's boyfriend via Instagram to join the evening's festivities and roped in my friends to help set up the house, transforming it into a party venue. By 8 p.m. guests started arriving, puzzled by my parents' absence. I reassured them it was all part of the surprise. As the room filled, I took a moment to gather everyone for a group photo, which was the perfect lead in to unveil my true intentions. I shared with the gathered crowd the neglect and favoritism I experienced, painting a picture quite contrary to the perfect family facade my parents maintained publicly. I explained the cruelty of being left out on my birthday based on Ellie's whims. The revelation shocked many, as my parents had always portrayed themselves as kind and upright individuals. I concluded by revealing this was the real reason behind the party, to expose the truth about my family dynamics. And just when I thought my revelations had done enough damage, I unveiled one more thing: a list of chores typically dumped on me, further highlighting the disparity in how we were treated. This birthday, though marred by heartache, became a turning point where I finally voiced the injustices I'd endured, hoping that this dramatic reveal would bring some change to our family dynamics. During the revealing party on my birthday, Ellie's boyfriend stood off to the side, visibly shocked as I unveiled her harsh side to everyone. After my revelations, the room fell into an uncomfortable silence, and it was clear the celebration had soured for everyone. Gradually, guests began to leave some quietly, others offering me words of comfort before departing. Although I felt guilty for possibly wasting their time, I reminded myself that it was necessary to expose the truth. After everyone had left, I took a step to ensure my message was clear. I sent the group photo from the party to my parents and sister with a playful yet pointed caption about getting started on the chores list Ellie had left for me. Their immediate demand for me to fix what I had done confirmed their surprise and urgency. They said they were catching the next flight back. In response, I blocked them all and left for my best friend Emma's house, taking refuge with a family that had always welcomed me warmly. Emma and her family had always told me their home was open to me, and now I was taking them up on their offer. I wasn't sure how long I could stay, but I was thankful for their kindness. The next day, my family showed up at Emma's doorstep, desperate to confront me. Emma's parents initially refused them entry, protecting me from further conflict. However, when my parents threatened legal action, I reluctantly agreed to speak with them. The conversation quickly escalated. My parents were furious, blaming me for damaging their reputations as their associates began distancing themselves. Yet, I held my ground, expressing that their neglect and favoritism towards Ellie had driven me to act. The argument intensified to the point where Emma and her parents had to intervene. Emma led me away to calm down while her parents handled my family. After I had cooled off, Emma's parents informed me that my family had left, and they reassured me that they would ensure my safety and peace. This tumultuous birthday, while painful, marked a crucial turning point. I had voiced my struggles and taken steps toward a new chapter, surrounded by those who truly cared for me. After the tumultuous birthday incident, Emma's parents suggested I consider legal emancipation from my own parents. They felt it was clear that my parents' lack of concern was detrimental to my well-being, and it was time for me to make a decisive cut from them. Taking their advice seriously, I discussed the possibility of emancipation with a lawyer, a move I'm still pondering over. It's a significant decision, and although I'm cautious about making choices I might regret, the ongoing strife with my family makes the option increasingly appealing. Just yesterday, despite my efforts to distance myself, I received an unexpected email from my parents. Initially, I resisted opening it, but curiosity prevailed, and I read their message. They explained that the surprise trip was simply a perk from one of my father's clients, who had opened a new spa and resort. They chose to offer it around my birthday as a special treat. However, when Ellie raised concerns about my upcoming finals, my parents opted to prioritize my academics over the trip, fearing it might affect my grades. Their email attempted to clarify their intentions, suggesting the whole ordeal was a misunderstanding. They expressed disappointment that I had aired our private issues publicly, stating they never anticipated such an action from me. They lamented over not raising me to handle conflicts more directly. According to them, had I communicated my feelings earlier, they might have addressed and resolved these issues. The latter part of their email expressed their sadness over my drastic actions and the public embarrassment it caused them. They admitted that the chore list Ellie left might have been excessive and expressed regret that I felt neglected. They urged me to discuss these issues with them directly, implying that they would have rectified the situation had they known the extent of my distress. Now, they are requesting a conversation to mend our relationship. However, I find myself torn. On one hand, their explanation sheds new light on their actions, suggesting a series of miscommunications rather than outright neglect. On the other, the pain and frustration from years of feeling sidelined are not easily dismissed. I'm grappling with mixed feelings. The desire for a family connection clashes with the need to protect my emotional well-being. This decision is crucial, and I find myself at a crossroads, unsure of the path forward. Your guidance or thoughts on how to handle this complex family dynamic would be greatly appreciated. After the fallout from throwing a party that exposed my parents among their coworkers and business associates, I received a lot of support from you all. Most of you agreed that my actions were justified and that I owed no apologies. Feeling validated, I decided to sever communication further by blocking the email address from which my parents had contacted me. I'm prepared to block any new attempts they might make to reach me because I've resolved to no longer engage with them. It's simply not worth the emotional turmoil. As for the matter of emancipation, I've made the decision to go through with it. It's a big step, especially at my young age, but Emma and her parents have been incredibly supportive. They've even offered to legally adopt me if it helps ease my nerves about the whole process, which is something I'm considering but haven't decided on yet. For now, we are focusing on the emancipation, and we've already started the legal proceedings with a lawyer. I'm unsure how my parents will react once they receive the official paperwork. Their last email hinted at their displeasure about me choosing to live with Emma and her family, a decision they find hard to accept despite the clear favoritism they've shown Ellie over the years. It's perplexing that they still try to reach out, which makes me think they're more concerned about salvaging their image than genuinely wanting me back. It's been a few days since my last update, and they haven't attempted to contact me again. I've heard through the grapevine that there have been some developments, like Ellie and her boyfriend breaking up, but the details are known only to me. Just a couple of days ago, my parents were officially served with the emancipation paperwork, and their reaction was far from positive. They reached out to Emma's parents in a confrontational manner, accusing them of influencing my decision. They couldn't seem to grasp that this choice was mine alone, spurred by years of feeling less valued than Ellie. The situation has certainly escalated, and now all I can do is wait to see how everything unfolds. The support from Emma's family has been my rock through this, and whatever happens next, I know I'm not alone in this fight. I initiated the move for emancipation on my own accord. No one needed to push me towards it. After sharing my previous update and receiving feedback, it became apparent that my parents' motivations were exactly as I had suspected. They seemed interested in reconciling only to maintain appearances and prove that my outspokenness at the party was just a display of teenage rebellion. However, I stood firm in my decision not to return to them, which evidently frustrated them further. The reality that I was asserting my independence seemed to aggravate them profoundly too bad, because I was fully committed to this path. They resorted to insulting Emma's parents, accusing them of orchestrating my rebellion and threatening legal action. Their aggressive stance only reinforced my belief. They weren't fighting for me out of love, but out of a desire to salvage their public persona. Emma relayed to me that during a heated conversation, my parents had disparaged her family, labeling them as instigators and even threatening physical retaliation, which was not only alarming but also illegal. Their behavior during these exchanges, choosing confrontation over concern for my well-being, confirmed that their priority was not my happiness, but their reputation. They accused Emma's parents of trying to tarnish their image by positioning themselves as my protectors, claiming they were exposing the alleged mistreatment I endured under my parents' care. According to my parents, this was an unjust portrayal meant to elevate Emma's family at their expense. Yet, there was no basis for such a rivalry. Emma's parents had only ever acted out of kindness towards me, without any ulterior motives tied to competing with my parents. It's clear my parents are blinded by their obsession with how they are perceived, unable to see that Emma's parents are genuinely concerned for my welfare, not because they want to bring my parents down, but because they see someone in need. I wish I could make my parents see that Emma's family aren't pretending to be my saviors. They truly are the lifeline I needed to escape from a situation where I felt undervalued and unsupported. My parents' focus on defending their image rather than addressing the issues that led us here is deeply frustrating. Instead of trying to understand and rectify their mistakes, they're more interested in creating drama. Meanwhile, Emma and her parents have provided me with a safe haven and the support I desperately needed. Their actions speak louder than any of my parents' accusations, proving where the genuine care and concern lie. Emma's parents have been clear with their advice to me. Avoid contacting my own parents, no matter how tempted I might be. They believe it's for the best, especially after a contentious phone call with them a few days ago. After the call, they only shared with me the details they felt I needed to know, but they did mention they recorded the conversation. They said the recording could serve as evidence in my emancipation case, showcasing why it's necessary for me to leave my parents' care. They also brought up the possibility of legally adopting me. I took some time to think about it and decided to say yes. It's not just because I know it will upset my parents further, it's genuinely because Emma's family has shown me incredible kindness and warmth. Emma being like a sister to me is a huge bonus. They're planning to talk to the lawyer again to start the paperwork for adoption, which could also strengthen my emancipation case by showing I have a stable and supportive home to go to. Unfortunately, things took a dark turn today. After my last class, which was in the east wing of the school, I encountered Ellie and her group of friends. I usually take my time to pack up, so by the time I left, the hallway was nearly empty. They cornered me outside the classroom, clearly looking to intimidate me. They forced everyone else who was still around to leave, saying they needed to settle some scores with me. I tried to stay calm and not show any fear, but they were relentless. Ellie grabbed my arm and dragged me outside, ignoring my protests. No one could hear me over the noise her friends were making. They shoved me into a janitor's closet and locked the door. I banged on it, trying to get out, but they just stood guard outside. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 minutes, Ellie let me out. By then, the hall was deserted. It was just me against them. That's when Ellie slapped me and started yelling. She called me selfish and ungrateful, blaming me for the family discord. Then she revealed the real reason she was so angry. She accused me of being the reason her boyfriend had broken up with her. This confrontation was not just about her venting frustration. It was deeply personal for her, and she was lashing out at me for all her